The spaceship Harmony Star moved slowly through the darkness of space. Inside, the human delegation prepared for something important. They were going to Valora Prime, a giant space station where 12 different alien species would meet. It was the year 2247, and humanity had finally joined the Galactic Council. Yuna Kim stood near the window of her small room. She was 34 years old, with short black hair and calm eyes. She studied alien life for her job, but today she was not thinking about work. She was watching her pet. Bomi sat on the bed. She was a honey badger, small and gray with a white stripe on her back. Her body had many old scars from fights long ago. Most people thought honey badgers were cute. They were wrong. Bomi was one of the most dangerous animals on Earth, but she sat quietly now, looking at Yuna with her small, dark eyes. "We are almost there," Yuna said softly. "Remember what I taught you. Stay calm. Watch everything. Trust no one except me." Bomi made a small sound. She understood. Yuna had raised her since she was a baby. They understood each other better than most humans understood their own families. There was a knock on the door. Ambassador Tae Woo entered. He was an older man with gray hair and a kind face. He had been a diplomat for 30 years. He knew how to talk to aliens. He knew how to make peace. "Yuna," he said, "we arrive in 1 hour. Are you ready?" "Yes, Ambassador." He looked at Bomi. "Are you sure about bringing her? The other species might not understand." "That is exactly why I am bringing her," Yuna replied. Ambassador Tae Woo smiled a little. He trusted Yuna. She was strange, but she was also very smart. "Very well. Commander Jisoo will meet us at the door." 1 hour later, the Harmony Star connected to Valora Prime. The space station was huge. It was like a city floating in space. Lights shined from thousands of windows. Ships from many worlds came and went. The human delegation walked out. Ambassador Tae Woo went first. Behind him came Commander Jisoo Park, a tall woman with strong shoulders and serious eyes. She used to be a soldier. Now she protected the ambassador. Yuna walked last, carrying Bomi in her arms. The welcome hall was full of aliens. Yuna had seen pictures of them before, but seeing them in real life was different. There were tall blue creatures with 4 arms. There were small beings made of living crystal. There were insect-like aliens with wings that made soft sounds. And then there were the Krellins. They stood in a group near the center of the hall. They were reptiles, like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. Their scales were dark green and their eyes were yellow. The smallest one was over 2 meters tall. The largest was almost 3 meters. That largest one stepped forward. He wore armor made of black metal. His name was Vorthak, Supreme Commander of the Krellin Empire. He was the most powerful military leader in 3 sectors of space. He had won 100 battles. He had never lost. "So," Vorthak said, his voice deep and rough, "the humans have arrived." He looked at Ambassador Tae Woo. "Welcome to Valora Prime. We hope you will not waste our time." "Thank you for the welcome," Ambassador Tae Woo said politely. "We are honored to be here." Vorthak's eyes moved past the ambassador. They stopped on Yuna. More specifically, they stopped on Bomi. "What is that?" he asked. "This is Bomi," Yuna said. "She is my companion." Vorthak made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was not a nice sound. "A companion? You bring a small, weak animal to a meeting of the great powers?" He turned to the other aliens. "Look at this. The humans carry around prey animals. They keep weakness close to their hearts." Some of the aliens laughed. Others looked uncomfortable. The Krellins laughed loudest of all. Commander Jisoo stepped forward, her face angry. Ambassador Tae Woo raised his hand to stop her. Yuna did not move. Her face showed nothing. She looked at Vorthak with calm eyes. Thank you for your concern, she said, but Bomi is comfortable where she is. Vorthak leaned down, bringing his huge head close to Yuna. His yellow eyes stared into hers. On my world, he said quietly, we eat creatures like that for breakfast. Yuna did not step back. She did not look away. On my world, she replied, creatures like this fight lions and win. For a moment, Vorthak said nothing. Then he laughed again and walked away. Humans, he said to his soldiers, so small, so strange, so weak. The human delegation was shown to their rooms. They were nice rooms, but they felt cold. This was not a friendly place. That night, Yuna sat alone with Bomi. The honey badger was eating some food that Yuna had brought from Earth. She ate slowly, her small teeth crushing the meat. He thinks you are nothing, Yuna whispered. He thinks I am nothing. He thinks all humans are nothing. She stroked Bomi's scarred back. But we know the truth, don't we? We know what you really are. Bomi looked up at her. In those small, dark eyes, there was no fear. There was never any fear. That was the thing about honey badgers. They did not know how to be afraid. They did not know how to give up. They did not know how to lose. They do not understand, Yuna said softly. They think size is everything. They think sharp claws and big teeth make you strong. She smiled. Let them believe that. Let them laugh. When the time comes, they will learn. She looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was home. But right now, home felt very far away. Sleep now, she told Bomi. Tomorrow, the real work begins, and we need to be ready. Bomi curled up on the bed and closed her eyes. Yuna watched her for a long time. This small creature had survived things that would kill most animals. She had fought snakes and wildcats and things with teeth much bigger than her own. She had never stopped fighting. That was what the aliens did not understand. That was what Vorthak could not see. Strength was not about size. It was not about claws or teeth or armor. Strength was about the heart. It was about refusing to stop. And in that way, Bomi was the strongest creature Yuna had ever known. Soon, Yuna whispered to the darkness, soon they will see. The grand hall of Valora Prime was the biggest room Yuna had ever seen. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually formed inside it. Light came from everywhere and nowhere. Chairs and tables of every size filled the space. Some seats were made for creatures the size of elephants. Others were made for beings smaller than cats. The summit had begun. Yuna sat behind Ambassador Tae-woo. Bomi rested quietly in her lap. Around them, delegates from 12 species talked and argued about trade, borders, and old disagreements. Most of it was boring. But Yuna watched everything carefully. A young man sat next to her. His name was Hoon Cho. He was the communications officer, which meant he sent and received messages for the delegation. He was 25 years old, thin, and nervous about almost everything. The Krellans keep looking at us, Hoon whispered. I know, Yuna said. It makes me uncomfortable. That is the point. They want us to be uncomfortable. Hoon looked at Bomi. Does she ever get scared? Yuna smiled slightly. No, never. It is not in her nature. On the other side of the hall, an old insect-like creature was watching them. Her name was Elder Maeve. She belonged to a species called the Solari. They had been traveling through space for 1,000,000 years. They were wise and peaceful. They preferred to watch and learn rather than fight. Elder Maeve had 4 arms and wings that folded against her back. Her eyes were large and kind. She had noticed Bomi on the first day. Now she could not stop watching the small creature. The morning passed slowly. Delegates talked about shipping routes and mining rights. Yuna took notes. Bomi slept. Then Vorthak stood up. The room became quiet when the Supreme Commander of the Krellan Empire wanted to speak. Everyone listened. Even the species that did not like him were afraid of him. "I wish to discuss the human delegation," Vorthak said. His voice filled the hall like thunder. Ambassador Tay Wu stayed calm. "We are here to discuss whatever the council wishes." "Good." Vorthak walked to the center of the room. "Because I have concerns. Serious concerns." He looked around at the other delegates. "Humanity has been part of this council for only 20 years. In that time, what have they given us? Science experiments, medical research, talk of peace." He said the word peace like it was something dirty. "But where is their strength? Where is their power?" "Power comes in many forms," Ambassador Tay Wu said. "We have helped cure diseases that killed millions on other worlds. We have shared technology that makes life better for everyone." "Words," Vorthak said. "Just words. The galaxy is a dangerous place. The council needs members who can fight, who can protect, who can win wars." He turned to face the human delegation directly. "What can humanity do in a war? Nothing. You are weak. Your soldiers are small. Your ships are few. You do not belong here." Commander Jasoo stood up, her face hard with anger. "We have fought wars. We have won wars. Do not speak of things you do not understand." "Sit down, Commander," Ambassador Tay Wu said quietly. She did, but her hands were tight fists. Vorthak laughed. "I propose a new rule. Humanity should not have voting rights until they prove their strength. Let them show us they are worthy of a seat at this table." The hall buzzed with whispers. Some species seemed to agree. Others looked uncertain. No one spoke against Vorthak directly. No one wanted to make him angry. Then Vorthak's yellow eyes found Yuna. They found Bomi. "And this," he said, pointing at the honey badger, "is proof of what I say. Look at them. The humans bring a tiny, helpless creature to a meeting of the greatest powers in the galaxy. They hold it like a baby. They talk to it like a friend." He walked closer to Yuna. "This is the measure of humanity. They bond with weakness. They love things that cannot protect them." Some aliens laughed. The Krellans laughed loudest. Yuna sat very still. Bomi opened her eyes but did not move. She watched Vorthak with the same calm look she always had. "On Krella," Vorthak continued, "we would step on such a creature without noticing. We would not waste food on it. We would not give it a name." He leaned down toward Yuna. "But you humans, you give it love. You give it care. You treat prey like family." He stood up straight again. "This is why you are weak. This is why you do not belong." The session ended shortly after. The vote on humanity's status would happen the next day. Many delegates seemed ready to support Vorthak's proposal. As Yuna walked out of the hall, someone touched her arm. She turned and saw Elder Maeve standing there. Up close, the old Solari was beautiful in a strange way. Her wings had colors that seemed to change when she moved. "May I speak with you?" Elder Maeve asked. Her voice was soft, like wind through leaves. "Of course." They walked to a quiet corner of the station. Hoon followed at a distance, looking worried. Elder Maeve looked at Bomi for a long time. "I have studied your world," she said finally. "I know what this creature is. I know what it can do." She looked up at Yuna. "Why do you let them mock her? Why do you let them think she is weak?" Yuna met the old alien's eyes. "Because they will never expect what comes next. You have a plan. I have hope. Sometimes that is enough." Elder Maeve made a sound that might have been a laugh. "The Krellans have ruled through fear for 1,000 years. They believe that the biggest creature always wins. They have never met something that does not follow those rules." She reached out one of her 4 hands and gently touched Bomi's head. Bomi allowed it. "On your world, what is this creature called again?" "A honey badger." "And what do honey badgers do when something bigger attacks them?" Yuna smiled. It was not a nice smile. They attack back. They never stop. They never give up. They fight until they win or until they die. And they almost never die. Elder Maeve nodded slowly. Then I will watch tomorrow with great interest. She turned to leave, then stopped. The Krellans think fear is the greatest weapon, but there is something more powerful than fear. What is that? Not having any fear at all. She walked away, her wings making soft music as she moved. Hoon came running up. What did she want? What did she say? Is everything okay? Yuna looked down at Bomi. The honey badger looked back at her, calm as always, ready for anything. Everything is fine, Hoon, Yuna said. Everything is going exactly as planned. The third day of the summit began badly. The Krellans had spent all night talking to other delegations. They had made promises and threats. By morning, it was clear that many species would vote against humanity. Ambassador Tae Wu looked tired. He had not slept. The vote will happen this afternoon, he told his team. I do not think we can win. Commander Jisoo hit the table with her fist. This is wrong. We have done nothing to deserve this. Vorthak is a bully. He is using fear to control everyone. Yes, the ambassador said, but fear works. That is why he uses it. Yuna sat in the corner, holding Bomi. She had been quiet all morning. Now she spoke. There might be another way. Everyone looked at her. I have been reading the old laws of the council, Yuna said. There is something called the trial of worth. It is an ancient tradition. Any species can challenge another to prove their honor through combat. Commander Jisoo leaned forward. Combat? You mean we can fight them? Not exactly. Each side chooses a champion. The champions fight. The winner proves their species worthy. Yuna looked at the ambassador. If we win, they cannot take our voting rights. It is the law. Ambassador Tae Wu thought about this. But if we lose, then we lose everything anyway. The same result as the vote. I will fight, Commander Jisoo said immediately. Choose me. I was the best soldier in my unit. I have trained my whole life. The Krellans are 3 meters tall, Hoon said nervously. They have claws that can cut through metal. No human can beat them in a fair fight. That is true, Yuna agreed. No human can. She looked down at Bomi. But the law does not say the champion must be human. The room was silent. You cannot be serious, Commander Jisoo said. You want to send that little animal against a Krellan warrior? I want to send that little animal against anyone who threatens my people, Yuna replied calmly. That is what she does. That is what she has always done. Ambassador Tae Wu rubbed his eyes. This is madness, maybe. But it is legal madness. I have checked. The trial of worth says nothing about size or species, only that a champion must be chosen. Yuna stood up. Let me do this. Let me try. The ambassador looked at her for a long time. Then he looked at Bomi. The honey badger stared back at him with her dark, fearless eyes. Very well, he said finally. What do we have to lose? That afternoon, the grand hall was full again. All 12 species had gathered for the vote. Vorthak stood in the center, looking confident. He thought he had already won. Before the vote could begin, Ambassador Tae Wu stood up. I invoke the trial of worth. The hall exploded with noise. Delegates shouted questions. Some looked confused. Others looked scared. The trial of worth had not been used in 500 years. Vorthak raised his hand. The room became quiet. The trial of worth? He laughed, showing his many teeth. The humans want to fight? This is unexpected, but I accept. I am happy to crush your champion with my own claws. The rules say the combat must be without weapons, Ambassador Tae Wu said. Do you agree? Of course. I need no weapons. My body is the only weapon I require. Vorthak looked at Commander Jisoo. Is she your champion? She looks strong for a human, but she will not last long. She is not our champion, the ambassador said. Yuna stepped forward. She placed Bomi on the floor. This is our champion. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then the laughter began. It started with the Krellans and spread through the hall like fire. Even species that had been friendly to humans were laughing. The idea was too silly, too crazy. Vorthak laughed loudest of all. This small, soft thing? He bent down to look at Bomi. This is your champion? You insult me. You insult all of us. The law says nothing about size, Yuna said. Her voice was calm and clear. It says nothing about species. A champion is chosen. This is my choice. This is a joke. No, this is the law. Do you refuse to follow the ancient traditions of the council? Yuna looked around at the other delegates. Do the Krellans have no honor? Are they afraid of a small creature from Earth? The laughter stopped. Vorthak's eyes became narrow and angry. Nobody called a Krellan a coward. Nobody suggested they were afraid. That was the worst insult possible. I am afraid of nothing, Vorthak growled. I will kill your little pet myself. I will show everyone what happens when you mock the Krellan Empire. Then you accept? I accept. Tomorrow morning, the arena of judgment. He looked at Bomi with hatred in his yellow eyes. Enjoy your last night with your pathetic creature. By tomorrow, she will be dead. He walked away. His soldiers followed. Hoon ran up to Yuna. His face was white with fear. What have you done? Vorthak is the greatest warrior in 3 sectors. He has killed hundreds of enemies in single combat. That little animal cannot possibly survive. Yuna picked up Bomi gently. The honey badger looked calm. She had watched everything without fear, without worry. She did not understand the danger, some might say, but Yuna knew the truth. Bomi understood perfectly. She just did not care. Hoon, Yuna said quietly, do you know what makes a honey badger special? They are small and angry? Yuna smiled. They are much more than that. On Earth, honey badgers fight lions. They fight leopards. They fight venomous snakes that would kill a human in minutes. They are bitten and clawed and poisoned. But they keep fighting. They always keep fighting. But why? How do they survive? Because they do not know how to give up. It is not in their nature. They will fight until they win or until their heart stops beating. There is no middle ground, no retreat, no surrender. Yuna stroked Bomi's scarred back. Vorthak has never faced anything like that. He wins through fear and power. He crushes his enemies quickly. But what happens when his enemy does not break? What happens when his enemy just keeps coming again and again and again? Hoon did not answer. He did not know. Tomorrow, Yuna said, he will find out. The arena of judgment was a pit dug deep beneath the grand hall. It was round, about 50 meters across, with walls made of smooth, dark stone. Around the top, viewing platforms held delegates from all 12 species. Everyone had come to watch. Most of them had come to watch humanity fail. Bright lights shone down into the pit. The stone floor was empty. Nothing to hide behind. Nowhere to run. This was a place for fighting, not for strategy. Yuna stood at the edge of the pit with Bomi in her arms. Ambassador Tae Wu stood beside her. Commander Jisoo was there too, along with Hoon. None of them had slept. Are you sure about this? The ambassador asked one last time. Yuna nodded. I am sure. On the opposite side of the arena, Vorthak arrived. He wore no armor today. He did not need it. His scales were like natural armor, thick and hard. His claws were each as long as a knife. His teeth could crush bone. He walked down into the arena. Every step made the stone shake. The Krellan soldiers cheered. Other species watched in silence. Vorthak looked up at Yuna and laughed. Where is your champion? Where is the mighty creature that will defeat me? Yuna did not answer. She simply walked to the edge of the pit and set Bomi down. The honey badger dropped into the arena, landing softly on the stone floor. She looked around once, then turned to face Vorthak. More laughter came from the crowd. The Krellins thought this was the funniest thing they had ever seen. Even some of the other species were smiling. The difference in size was absurd. Vorthak was nearly 3 meters tall and weighed over 400 kilograms. Bomi was less than 1 meter long and weighed about 12 kilograms. "This will be over quickly," Vorthak said. He began walking toward Bomi. Each step was slow and confident. He was not hurrying. Why would he? This was not a fight. This was an execution. Bomi did not run. She did not hide. She stood perfectly still and watched him come. When Vorthak was 3 meters away, he attacked. His arm moved fast, faster than something so big should move. His claws cut through the air toward Bomi's small body. Bomi was not there. She had moved at the last moment, dodging under his arm with a speed that surprised everyone. Before Vorthak could turn, she was behind him. And then she attacked. Her teeth bit into the soft skin behind his knee where the scales did not protect him. She bit down hard. Vorthak roared. It was a sound of pain and surprise. He had not expected pain. Not from this. He spun around and threw his leg, sending Bomi flying across the arena. She hit the wall with a terrible sound and fell to the ground. The crowd gasped. Hoon covered his eyes. Ambassador Tae Woo gripped the railing. Bomi lay still for 1 second, 2 seconds. Then she stood up. She shook her body once like she was shaking off water. Then she turned to face Vorthak again. Her eyes had not changed. There was no fear. There was no hesitation. There was only the same calm, focused attention. The laughter had stopped. Vorthak looked at his leg. Blood was running from the wound, not a lot, but enough. This tiny creature had made him bleed. "Lucky," he growled. "That was lucky. It will not happen again." He charged. What followed was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Vorthak was a master of combat. He had fought 100 battles and won them all. His claws could cut through metal. His strength could break bones with a single hit. But Bomi would not stay still. She moved constantly, ducking and rolling and jumping. She was small enough to fit in spaces he could not reach. She was fast enough to dodge attacks that should have killed her, and every time she saw an opening, she attacked. She bit his ankle, his tail, the soft spots between his scales. She went for his eyes twice, missing by centimeters both times. She was thrown against the walls again and again. She was stepped on. She was clawed. Blood appeared on her gray fur, but she kept getting up. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Vorthak was breathing hard now. This was not how his fights went. His enemies broke quickly. They ran. They begged for mercy. They gave up. This creature did none of those things. "What are you?" Vorthak shouted. "Why will you not die?" Bomi did not answer. She just kept attacking. The crowd watched in complete silence. Elder Maeve leaned forward, her large eyes fixed on the arena. Commander Jasu had stopped breathing. Hoon was crying quietly. Yuna watched without expression, but inside, her heart was screaming. She had trained Bomi. She had raised her. She loved her more than anything in the universe. Watching her get hurt was the hardest thing she had ever done. But she had also known from the very beginning that this was what Bomi was born to do: fight, survive, never give up. 15 minutes into the fight, Vorthak made a mistake. He was tired. His movements were slower. When he reached down to grab Bomi, she jumped. Not away from him, at him. She landed on his chest and climbed faster than the eye could follow. Before he could react, her teeth were on his throat. She bit down. Vorthak screamed. He grabbed at her, but she was wrapped around his neck, holding on with all 4 legs and her teeth. His scales were weaker there. Her jaws were strong enough to crush snake skulls. She held on. He threw himself against the wall. He rolled on the ground. He clawed at his own throat, trying to reach her, but she would not let go. Blood began to flow. Slowly at first, then faster. Vorthak fell to his knees. His movements became weak. His roars became whispers. Finally, he collapsed on the stone floor, his great body going still. Bomi let go. She stood on his chest for a moment, swaying slightly. She was covered in blood, both his and her own. Her left leg was not working right. One ear was torn, but she was standing, and he was not. The arena of judgment was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They had just watched something impossible. Yuna climbed down into the pit. She walked across the bloody stone floor and gently picked up Bomi. The honey badger made a soft sound and pressed against her chest. "You did so well," Yuna whispered, tears running down her face. "You did so well." She looked at Vorthak's fallen body. Medical teams were rushing in. He would survive. Probably, but his pride would not. Yuna turned to face the silent crowd. She held Bomi up for everyone to see. "On Earth," she said, her voice clear and strong, "we have a saying. It is not the size of the fight in the creature. It is the size of the creature in the fight." She looked around at all the alien faces. "This is what humanity believes. This is who we are. We do not give up. We do not surrender. We fight until we win." Elder Maeve began to clap. It was a strange sound, coming from her 4 hands. But others joined in. First one species, then another. Soon the whole arena was filled with the sound of applause. Humanity had proven its worth. The hours after the trial were strange. The whole station seemed different. People looked at the human delegation differently now. Before, they had been ignored or mocked. Now, other species moved aside when they walked by. Some even bowed slightly. Vorthak survived. The medical teams had worked quickly, but he refused to speak to anyone. He refused to leave the medical center. His soldiers said nothing. The great supreme commander of the Krellin Empire had been defeated by a creature that fit in a woman's arms. The shame was worse than any wound. Ambassador Tae Wu stood in the Grand Hall, receiving congratulations from other delegations. Species that had been ready to vote against humanity now wanted to talk about trade and friendship. The whole political situation had changed in one morning. "This is remarkable," he said to Commander Jisoo. "I have been a diplomat for 30 years. I have never seen anything like this." "Fear is powerful," Jisoo replied, "but courage is more powerful." Yuna understood that. Speaking of Yuna, she was not at the gathering. She was in the medical center with Bomi. The honey badger lay on a special table that the station doctors had prepared. They had never treated a creature from Earth before. They were not sure what to do, but Yuna guided them. She knew every part of Bomi's body. "The leg needs to be wrapped carefully," she said, "and she needs to rest. But she will heal. She always heals." Bomi looked up at her with tired eyes. For the first time since Yuna had known her, the honey badger seemed peaceful, content, like she had done the thing she was born to do. "You were so brave," Yuna whispered. "You saved all of us. You saved humanity." Bomi made a soft sound and closed her eyes. Elder Maeve came to visit later that day. She stood quietly in the doorway, watching Yuna care for her wounded companion. "May I enter?" she asked. "Of course." The old Solari walked in slowly. Her wings made their usual soft music. She looked at Bomi with her large, wise eyes. "I have lived for a very long time," she said. "I have seen many things. Wars, empires rising and falling, species being born and dying. But I have never seen anything like what I saw today." "Thank you," Yuna said. "Do not thank me. I should thank you." Elder Maeve touched Bomi gently with one of her 4 hands. "The Krellins have ruled through fear for 1,000 years. They believe that power is everything. Today, you showed the galaxy that there are other kinds of strength. Better kinds. Bomi showed them, Yuna corrected. Not me. You raised her. You trained her. You understood what she was capable of when no one else did. Elder Maeve smiled. That is a different kind of strength. The strength to see what others cannot see. That evening, Ambassador Tae Wu addressed the full council. The Krellin delegation was present, but Vorthak was not with them. They sat in silence, their eyes down. Today, humanity proved its worth, the ambassador said. Not through size, not through weapons, but through the spirit that lives in all of us. The spirit that says we will never give up, never surrender, never stop fighting for what we believe in. He looked around the hall. Some of you thought we were weak because we are small, because we care about creatures that are smaller than us. But that caring is our greatest strength. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We love what others would throw away. Elder Maeve stood up. I move that the motion against humanity be dismissed, permanently. Another delegate stood. Then another. Soon, 10 of the 12 species were standing. Only the Krellins remained seated. The motion is dismissed, the council speaker announced. Humanity remains a full member with all voting rights. 3 days later, the Harmony Star left Valora Prime. The summit was over. The human delegation was going home. Yuna sat in the observation deck watching the stars. Bomi was in her lap, mostly healed now. The honey badger was tough. She recovered fast. Commander Jisoo came to sit beside her. I owe you an apology, she said. For what? I thought you were crazy. When you said Bomi would be our champion, I thought you had lost your mind. I did not understand. She looked at the honey badger with new respect. Now I do. Most people do not understand, Yuna said. The Krellins see a small animal. They see weakness. They do not see what I see. What do you see? Yuna looked down at Bomi. The honey badger looked back at her with those dark, calm eyes. I see a creature that has never known fear. A creature that fights things 10 times her size and does not think about losing. She does not know she is supposed to be afraid. She does not know she is supposed to give up. She smiled softly. And because she does not know those things, they cannot stop her. Hoon came running into the observation deck. He was holding a communication device. You have a message, he said, breathing hard. From the Solari homeworld. What does it say? Elder Maeve wants to know if there are any honey badgers available for diplomatic exchange. Hoon looked confused. She wants one for herself. Yuna laughed. It was a real laugh, full and happy. She had not laughed like that in a very long time. Tell her we can discuss it, Yuna said, but first she needs to understand something. What? Tell her what honey badgers eat, what they hunt, how they fight. Yuna scratched behind Bomi's ears. Tell her that on Earth, even the biggest animals are afraid of them. Lions walk away from honey badgers. Leopards avoid them. Snakes cannot kill them with poison. She looked at Hoon with a smile. Tell her that if she wants a honey badger, she should be prepared for something very special. Hoon nodded and hurried away to send the message. Commander Jisoo stood up to leave. She paused at the door. Yuna? Yes? The galaxy will never forget what happened today. They will tell stories about the small creature that defeated the greatest warrior in 3 sectors. She smiled slightly. And about the woman who believed in her. She left. Yuna sat alone with Bomi, watching the stars slide past the window. Somewhere far away, Earth was waiting for them. Home was waiting. But things would be different now. Humanity was no longer the small, weak species that other races laughed at. They were something more, something that even the Krellins would think twice about challenging. And it was all because of one small creature with dark eyes and no fear. You know, Yuna said softly. You changed everything today. The whole galaxy is different because of you. Bomi made a small sound. She did not care about galaxies or politics or history. She only cared about the person holding her, the warmth of the ship, and the peace of this quiet moment. That was the other thing about honey badgers, Yuna thought. They did not fight for glory or power. They fought because that was their nature. They fought to survive. They fought to protect. And when they loved someone, they loved completely, without fear, without doubt, just like humans. Rest now, Yuna whispered. We are going home. Bomi closed her eyes. Outside the window, the stars burned on forever, watching as the small ship carried its heroes back to Earth.